We all have that one dream of finally getting the chance to study abroad. Because we believe it's the key to opening the door to a better future. It all sounds so simple, right? You relocate to a new country, study for a few years, land a job, and somehow all the financial struggles that have plagued your family's lineage finally disappear. Sound familiar? If that's the path you believe your life will take, then by all means, keep working towards it. I'm not here to discourage you, and in fact, I've made this video to help you. Because between relocating abroad and achieving success, there's a lot of, let's just say, crappy situations you will encounter along the way. And it's from experiencing these situations that I'll tell you about the hard truths of studying abroad that you need to know. As a foreigner, and especially as a person of color, expect to be looked down upon in one way or another. I know it sounds crazy, but before you rush to the comment section and start telling me how crazy I am for even saying something like this, it's important to note that I said expect and not accept. There is a very big difference. You see, the truth is, some locals may have pre-existing biases against foreigners. This usually happens due to a few reasons. Firstly, there's the fear of the unknown. People usually fear or distrust what they don't understand. This fear usually leads to apprehension or even hostility. Second, it is well known that during times of social or economic hardships, foreigners are often scapegoated for broader societal problems. It's usually a way to deflect attention from deeper systemic issues. The most recent incident happened to a friend of mine not too long ago right here in Munich, when he attended an event that is usually hosted about 2 times every month by a very popular group. He noticed that one particular member, let's call him Person X, always avoided interacting with him. Out of curiosity, my friend decided to ask other members why this was happening. They told him that Person X thought that my friend was a refugee. Mind you, Person X made this assumption without even exchanging a single word. Was it because he was African? Honestly, only God knows. Maybe Person X had been consuming way too much of the negative narrative usually spewed by mainstream media about African refugees. Eventually, they did end up talking, and when Person X realized that my friend was a master's student at Germany's top-ranked university, everything changed. Suddenly, Person X stopped avoiding him and dropped all his assumptions. The point of this story is simply, as a foreigner, you need to develop thick skin. This is because while majority of the people you'll come across are very kind and very welcoming, the truth of the matter is you will come across a few assholes along the way. The most important thing is to not allow their ignorance or their biases put you down. Instead, remember your purpose, your journey, and the great things you're trying to work towards too while you're studying in a foreign nation. Your worth is not defined by someone else's assumptions. The journey might be tough, but it's worth it. Stop having expectations from people. This is one of the hardest truths I've had to learn over the past few years, and trust me, it's a lesson that can save you from a lot of heartache. When you relocate to a foreign country, it's very easy to find yourself gravitating towards individuals who you share certain similarities with. For example, it may be the fact that you guys come from the same country, or you speak the same language, or maybe in some cases you might actually be related to these people. These similarities make it easy to feel connected, and sometimes we start to expect that these individuals will have our backs when things get tough. But the reality is, when you move abroad, everyone is busy running their own race. They have their own lives, responsibilities, and challenges. People are busy working, studying, running errands, spending time with their families, or just trying to get some rest. So don't be surprised when the people you expect to help you during your toughest moments simply aren't able to. It's not always about willingness, sometimes they just can't. In fact, I've found that the most help often comes from the people you least expect. A stranger who becomes a friend, a classmate who offers support, a co-worker who helps you navigate a new system. These unexpected connections are one of the beautiful surprises about living abroad because they simply remind you that kindness can come from anywhere, even when you least expect it. So, if you're planning to study or live abroad in the future, let go of all expectations from others. Not because people are bad human beings, but because everyone is carrying their own load. Instead, focus on building meaningful relationships, appreciating acts of kindness, and being someone others can rely on. And remember, the strongest support is the one that you build within yourself. That's how you thrive. Letting go of that senior position you held back home. That's one of the hardest lessons I had to learn after moving abroad. This particular truth applies especially to those moving to Germany for a master's program, because many of us usually share two main things in common. One, we arrive in Germany without being fluent in the German language, and two, when we arrive in Germany, we've already worked in our home countries for a significant amount of time after finishing our bachelor's degree. So for some individuals, that means leaving behind what felt like a comfortable life. Even though the language barrier is just one of the many challenges that an international student will face while studying in Germany, it forces us as international students to end up taking jobs that we are overqualified for, which only allow us to earn minimum wage. And of course, it's frustrating. So frustrating that it can take a toll on your mental health, your motivation, and even your academics. I know exactly how it feels to be in that situation because back in my home country, I trained and I worked as a civil engineer. But for my first job here in Germany, well, I had to settle for a job as a delivery rider taking groceries to people's homes on an e-bike. And let me tell you, every single time I saw my schedule, I would get sad, angry, frustrated, irritated because all I kept remembering was that comfortable mid-level job I had back home. And because I was constantly making these comparisons, it made my life in this country way more difficult than it needed to be. After some time, I realized that this wasn't the end of my journey, it was only the beginning. Once I let go of that senior position in my mind, everything started to change. I stopped dwelling on what I had left behind and only focused on who I wanted to become. And this mindset change eventually allowed me to start doing the things that I loved while taking the small steps towards my goals. So, if you're planning to study abroad, remember this. Sometimes, letting go of the past is the first step to creating the future that you've always dreamed of. Living abroad can get lonely, really lonely, especially when you move to a country where the language, the culture, and even the way people interact feel completely foreign. One of the hardest things about relocating, particularly to a non-English speaking country, is finding and making genuine friends who share the same life goals as you do. It's tough, and unfortunately, when you move abroad, the effort to find new friends falls entirely on you. Just think about it for a moment. If you were born in the country you chose to move to, you'd likely already have childhood friends. You know, people who you grew up and shared memories with. But as a foreigner, you start from scratch. No shared history, no automatic connections, it's all on you. And I know some of you watching this might be thinking, but I'm an introvert. I am perfectly comfortable being alone. Trust me, I get it. I'm an introvert too. After relocating, there will be moments when the loneliness hits you hard. Usually, it starts around 6 to 8 months after you've moved. The initial excitement fades and the homesickness starts to creep in. Some days, it just feels overwhelming. It's during those moments that the depression can feel unbearable. But here's the thing, you don't have to go through it alone. One of the best ways to navigate through these tough periods is to find a close-knit community of like-minded people. These individuals are invaluable, especially if they have already experienced the challenges that you are facing now. They can offer guidance, support, and most importantly, a sense of belonging. Community doesn't just make life easier, it makes it richer. It turns strangers into family and hardships into lessons. So if you're planning to study or live abroad, don't underestimate the power of community. You need to take that first step. Attend that event, join that group, talk to that classmate, because while the journey abroad is on your own, it doesn't have to be a lonely one. Back home, the phrase work-life balance always felt like one of those Instagram cliches. Something motivational speakers or influencers would say just to get some likes. But after moving to Germany, I realized how important it really is. Because when you're studying abroad, the truth is, your life becomes a juggling act. You have to juggle so many things at once, such as studying, working, cooking, cleaning, shopping, socializing. It's all too much. And here's the thing, as human beings, there's only so much stress we can take before we eventually break. Many international students end up feeling completely overwhelmed. Some give up on their goals entirely, while others turn to temporary solutions such as drinking, smoking, or other unhealthy habits. But as you can guess, those only bring more problems in the long run. But here's something I've learned over the last few years while studying in Germany. The key to surviving and even thriving is finding balance. And one of the best ways to do that is by discovering hobbies that bring joy and purpose back into your life. After a long and miserable day at work or at school, spending a few extra minutes of the time that you have left on a hobby can significantly improve your mood. Not to mention, there's the added benefit of the fact that having hobbies can help you build your community, which is so important, especially when you're far away from home. If you're not sure where to start, let me make it as simple as possible for you. You only need 3 activities in your life to create balance. An activity that makes you money, an activity that keeps you healthy, and an activity that makes you happy. Your money activity could be your part-time job or your side hustle. Your health activity could be hitting the gym, playing a sport, or even taking long walks. And your happiness activity, well, that's personal. It could be writing, dancing, gaming, whatever brings a smile to your face. When you combine these 3 pillars, you find balance isn't just possible, it's empowering. As an international student, your life is about balancing the hard work of studying and working with the joy of doing what you love and keeping healthy. Work-life balance isn't just a cliche. It's the foundation for building a happy and a sustainable life abroad. So don't just work and study, otherwise you'll find that you'll be constantly stressed out. Invest in your balance and eventually you'll find that living abroad can be just as fulfilling as it is challenging. Studying abroad is a dream that comes with its own set of realities. Some beautiful, some challenging, and some downright hard to swallow. But if there's one thing I've learned is that these experiences shape you in ways you can't imagine. They push you to grow, to adapt, and to find strength you never knew you had. And here's the thing, once you relocate to study abroad, you are going to have your own set of hard truths too. So Don't be afraid of them, embrace them, learn from them, because each and every challenge that you face as an international student is basically a step towards the person you want to be in the future. The truth is, no matter how hard it gets, you're not alone. Every international student out there is walking a similar path. And the beauty of this journey is that it teaches us how to survive, thrive, and most importantly, grow.